The great meeting hall on Nexus Prime Station had never seen such fear. Representatives from dozens of alien races sat in their special chairs, but none of them looked comfortable. The air felt heavy with worry and desperation. Ambassador Kethvar stood at the center of the room. His forearms shook as he held up a small device. The Altarian was usually calm, but today his blue skin had turned pale gray. His large eyes looked around the room at the other aliens. "Friends," he said, his voice breaking, "we must face the truth. The Zerathi are coming for all of us." The room became even quieter. Everyone knew about the Zerathi. They were the monsters that lived in the dark parts of space. For 3,000 years, they had been the galaxy's worst nightmare. Kethvar pressed a button on his device. Above his head, pictures appeared in the air. The images showed a planet that had once been beautiful. Green forests, blue oceans, and white cities had covered its surface. Now it was nothing but black rock and ash. "This was Belos Colony," Kethvar said. 6 million people lived there last month. Now they are all dead. The Zerathi killed them all. A creature made of living crystal spoke up. Zephyria was the oldest member of the Galactic Council. Her voice sounded like wind chimes in a storm. "How did they die?" Kethvar's hands shook harder. Some were eaten alive. Others were used as nests for Zerathi babies. The lucky ones died quickly. More pictures appeared. These showed the Zerathi themselves. They looked like giant insects crossed with machines. Each one was 12 feet tall and covered in sharp black armor. Their faces had too many teeth and eyes that glowed red in the dark. "They are not just killers," Kethvar continued. "They are collectors. Every time they eat someone, they take that person's abilities. They become stronger and smarter. They learn new ways to fight and new ways to kill." An insect-like alien raised one of his many arms. The Kriktar had survived one Zerathi attack on their homeworld. Half their people had died that day. "What about their ships?" the Kriktar asked. "Our weapons cannot hurt them." "The Zerathi ships are alive," Kethvar explained. "They grow them like plants. The ships can heal themselves and change shape during battle. They are faster than our fastest ships and stronger than our strongest weapons." He showed more pictures. These were recordings from space battles. The videos showed Zerathi ships that looked like giant sea creatures. They moved through space like sharks through water. When they attacked other ships, they did not use energy weapons. Instead, they grabbed the ships with long tentacles and crushed them. "But the worst part is not how they kill," Kethvar said. "It is how they make us afraid before they even arrive." The room filled with the sound of screaming. It came from Kethvar's device. The screams were not from one person or even one species. They were from thousands of different aliens all crying out in pain and terror. "They broadcast this across space," Kethvar explained as he turned off the horrible sound. "Before they attack a world, they send the screams of everyone they have killed. Entire planets surrender without fighting because they cannot bear to listen." A cloud of gas that floated near the ceiling began to glow brighter. This was how the Nebulans showed emotion. "How many worlds have they taken?" the gas creature asked. 47 star systems, Kethvar answered. "Every world they visit becomes empty. They take everything useful and leave nothing but death behind." Zephyria's crystal body reflected the lights in the room as she moved. "What do our military leaders say? Can we not fight them?" Kethvar laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "We have tried everything. Our biggest fleets cannot stop even one of their ships. Our best weapons bounce off their armor. Our smartest generals cannot predict what they will do next." He showed one final picture. It was a map of the galaxy with red dots marking Zerathi territory. The red area was growing larger every year. It looked like a disease spreading across healthy tissue. "At their current rate of expansion," Kethvar said, "they will control the entire galaxy within 200 years, maybe less." The room erupted in noise as aliens began talking to each other in dozens of different languages. Some cried. Others argued. A few just sat in shocked silence. Zephyria made a sound like breaking glass to get everyone's attention. "Then we are all doomed," she said simply. "Maybe not," Kethvar said quietly. The room became silent again. "Our deep space scouts have found something interesting. In the Outer Rim territories there is a species we have never seen before. Another target for the Zerathi," someone said bitterly. "Perhaps," Kethvar agreed, "but perhaps not. These creatures call themselves humans. They come from a planet they call Earth. Our scouts say they are very young compared to most of us. Their civilization is only a few thousand years old. Then they will be easy prey. the Kriktar said. That is what we thought, Kethavar replied. But there is something strange about them. Our scouts watched them from far away. These humans are always fighting, not just with other species, but with each other. They fight over everything: food, water, land, ideas. Even their entertainment involves fighting. Savages, someone muttered. Maybe, Kethavar said, but effective savages. In just a few thousand years, they have spread across their entire planet. They have built weapons that could destroy their whole world. They have even begun to explore space. Zephyria leaned forward. Her crystal face caught the light. What do you propose? First contact, Kethavar said. We send a team to meet with these humans. We tell them about the Zarathi threat. Maybe they can offer a new perspective. Maybe they know something we do not. Or maybe they will just be another planet full of screaming victims, the Kriktar said darkly. That is possible, Kethavar admitted. But what choice do we have? We have tried everything else. We have nowhere left to run. The Zarathi will come for all of us eventually. The debate went on for hours. Some aliens thought contacting the humans was a waste of time. Others worried that bringing new species into the war would just give the Zarathi more victims. But in the end, desperation won. Zephyria called for a vote. One by one, the representatives agreed to send a first contact team to Earth. It passed unanimously, though many votes came reluctantly. Very well, Zephyria announced. Ambassador Kethavar, you will lead the mission. Take your best people. Find out everything you can about these humans. As the meeting ended and aliens began to leave, Kethavar stared at the map showing Zarathi territory. The red area seemed to pulse like a beating heart. Somewhere out there, the monsters were planning their next attack. Somewhere else, an unknown species called humans went about their daily lives, unaware that their galaxy was dying. Kethavar did not have much hope. After all, what could one more species do against a threat that had already broken the will of countless civilizations? But hope was all they had left. He packed his bags that night, preparing for a journey to a small blue planet in the outer rim. Perhaps the humans would surprise him. Perhaps they would have some new idea or weapon that could stop the Zarathi. Or perhaps they would just be another species to add to the Zarathi's collection of screams. Only time would tell. 3 months later, the Altarian science ship called Harmony's Edge dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of a solar system. Captain Velthar looked through the main viewing window at a yellow star surrounded by several planets. The third planet from the star glowed blue and green. That was Earth, home of the humans. Beautiful world, said Dr. Quintal, the ship's expert on alien behavior. She was standing next to the captain, her purple skin shimmering under the ship's lights. Lots of water and plant life. These humans are lucky to live in such a place. Captain Velthar nodded. His own homeworld was mostly desert. Begin standard first contact procedures, he ordered his crew. Send them mathematics and peace symbols. Let them know we come in friendship. The crew worked at their stations, sending radio signals toward Earth. They transmitted simple mathematical equations like 2 + 2 = 4. They sent pictures showing different alien species working together. They played music from many different worlds. Signal sent, Captain, reported the communications officer. Now we wait for their response. They did not have to wait long. Within minutes, Earth began responding, but not the way anyone expected. Captain, the sensor officer called out in alarm. Multiple objects approaching from the planet. They appear to be projectile weapons. Weapons. Captain Velthar stared at his display screen. Dozens of primitive rockets were flying toward his ship. Are you sure? Maybe they are just excited to meet us. No, sir, the sensor officer replied. I am detecting nuclear warheads on those missiles. They are definitely trying to attack us. Dr. Quintal watched the approaching missiles with fascination rather than fear. Interesting, she said, making notes on her electronic pad. Most species respond to first contact with curiosity or fear. These humans respond with immediate aggression. The missiles reached the ship and exploded against its protective shields. The nuclear blasts were bright but harmless. The ship's technology was thousands of years more advanced than anything humans had built. Should we leave, Captain? Asked the helmsman nervously. No, Captain Velthar decided. Keep trying to communicate. Maybe they will realize we are not hostile. It took 6 hours of patient signaling before the humans finally stopped shooting at them. Even then, the conversations that followed were tense and difficult. The humans sent a small delegation to meet on the ship. Their leader was a stern woman with gray hair who introduced herself as Admiral Sarah Chen. She wore a dark blue uniform covered with medals and badges. Her eyes were sharp and cold like pieces of ice. "Why are you here?" Admiral Chen asked without any pleasantries. She sat across from Captain Velthar in the ship's meeting room, flanked by 2 human guards who kept their hands on their weapons. "We come seeking allies," Captain Velthar explained. "Our galaxy faces a great threat. We hoped your species might help us." "What kind of threat?" Admiral Chen leaned forward. Her attention was so intense it made the captain uncomfortable. Captain Velthar began explaining about the Zerathi. He showed the humans the same pictures and videos that had been shared at the Galactic Council. He expected the humans to react with horror and fear like every other species. Instead, Admiral Chen watched everything with cold, analytical interest. She took notes. She asked technical questions about Zerathi biology and weapons. She wanted to see detailed maps of Zerathi territory and supply lines. "Show us their ships again," Admiral Chen commanded. "How fast do they travel? What kind of armor do they have? How do they communicate with each other?" Dr. Quintal found the human reactions disturbing. "Admiral," she interrupted, "do you understand what we are showing you? These creatures have killed billions of people. They are the most dangerous predators the galaxy has ever known." Admiral Chen looked at the alien doctor without emotion. "I understand perfectly," she said. "You have a pest problem and you want our help getting rid of it." "Pest problem?" Captain Velthar was shocked. "These are apex predators that have terrorized the galaxy for 3,000 years. "From what you have shown me," Admiral Chen replied calmly, "they are effective hunters who have never faced real opposition. They remind me of certain animals on our world that seem dangerous until you learn their weaknesses." She turned to one of her assistants, a younger man in a similar uniform. "Contact Earth Command. Tell them to send the full xenobiology team and our best military analysts. I want everything we have on these Zerathi within 48 hours. The human delegation spent 3 days on the ship, asking questions and studying alien technology. They were particularly interested in Zerathi biology. They wanted to know how the creatures reproduced, what they ate, how their armor worked, and how they healed from injuries. "You humans seem very focused on ways to kill them," Dr. Quintal observed during one conversation. "Of course," Admiral Chen replied matter-of-factly. "That is what we do. Every species has evolved to be good at something. Some are good at building. Some are good at thinking. Humans are good at killing." Captain Velthar felt a chill run down his spine. "Surely you have other talents as well." Admiral Chen smiled, but it was not a warm expression. "Certainly. We are excellent at cooperation when we face a common enemy. We are very good at learning new technologies. We adapt quickly to changing situations. But our greatest strength is that we are better predators than anything else we have encountered." "Even on your own world?" Dr. Quintal asked. "Especially on our own world," Admiral Chen answered. "Earth is not a peaceful place like your worlds appear to be. Almost everything on our planet is trying to kill something else. We climb to the top of the food chain by being more dangerous than creatures much larger and stronger than us." She showed them pictures on her own device. The images displayed Earth animals that made even the hardened aliens feel nervous. Giant sharks with rows of razor teeth, poisonous snakes that could kill with a single bite, massive bears with claws like knives. "These are just some of the predators we learned to hunt," Admiral Chen explained. "We did not become the dominant species by being the biggest or strongest. We became dominant by being the smartest killers." The conversations continued for several more days. The humans asked detailed questions about every aspect of Zerathi society and technology. They wanted to know about Zerathi psychology, their command structure, their breeding cycles, and their resource needs. "You seem to be planning a war," Captain Velthar observed. "We are always planning for war," Admiral Chen replied. "Peace is just the time between conflicts. A wise species uses that time to prepare for the next fight." When the human delegation finally prepared to leave, Admiral Chen made a surprising announcement. "We will help you with your Zerathi problem," she said. "But we will do this our way. Do not interfere with our methods and do not question our tactics. Can you agree to those terms?" Captain Velthar looked at Dr. Quintal, who seemed troubled. "What exactly do you plan to do?" he asked. "What humans have always done," Admiral Chen replied. "We will study our prey until we understand them completely. Then we will hunt them down and kill them all." The casual way she said it made everyone in the room uncomfortable. This was not how civilized species talked about warfare. This was how predators talked about hunting. "How long will you need to prepare?" Captain Velthar asked. "We are already preparing," Admiral Chen said. "Our scientists are analyzing everything you have shown us. Our military is developing new weapons and strategies. Our intelligence services are planning reconnaissance missions into Zarathi space." "You work very quickly," Dr. Quintal noted. "We have to," Admiral Chen replied. "On Earth, hesitation means death. We learned long ago to act fast when faced with a threat." As the human shuttle departed back to Earth, Captain Velthar watched it go with mixed feelings. The humans had agreed to help, which was more than he had dared hope for. But something about their attitude worried him. "Dr. Quintal," he said, "what do you think of our new allies?" The behavioral expert was quiet for a long moment. "I think," she said finally, "that we may have made a mistake. The humans do not seem afraid of the Zarathi. They seem excited by the challenge. Is that not good?" Captain Velthar asked. "I'm not sure," Dr. Quintal replied. "In my studies of predator species, I have learned that the most dangerous ones are those that enjoy the hunt." The ship began its journey back to Galactic Council space, carrying news that the humans had agreed to help. But as they traveled through the darkness between stars, both aliens found themselves wondering if they had just invited a different kind of monster into their war. 6 months after first contact with the humans, the Zarathi launched their biggest attack yet. Their target was Centauri Trade Hub, a massive space station that served as the economic heart of 12 different civilizations. Millions of aliens lived and worked there, making it the perfect target for the Zarathi's reign of terror. War Master Crixthul led the assault personally. He was the largest and most feared of all Zarathi commanders, standing 15 feet tall with armor that had been grown from the bones of 1,000 different species. His ship, the Flesh Render, was a living nightmare that looked like a giant spider crossed with a whale. The attack began the same way all Zarathi attacks began. First came the screams. Across every communication channel, the sounds of dying aliens filled the airwaves. These were not recordings. The Zarathi kept their victims alive specifically for this purpose, torturing them in ways that would break the minds of anyone who heard their cries. "Attention! Centauri Trade Hub!" Crixthul's voice boomed through space. His words were translated into dozens of languages simultaneously. "You have 1 hour to surrender. Those who submit will be consumed quickly. Those who resist will suffer for days before they die." On the trade station, panic spread like wildfire. Alien families tried to pack their belongings and flee. Ships of every size and shape launched from the docking bays, desperate to escape before the Zarathi arrived. The station's defense force, made up of volunteers from many different species, prepared for a hopeless last stand. Then something unexpected happened. As the fleeing civilian ships reached the edge of the system, new vessels appeared from hyperspace. These ships were angular and brutal-looking, covered in what appeared to be primitive projectile weapons and nuclear missiles. They looked crude compared to the elegant designs favored by most galactic civilizations. "Attention, all civilian craft." A calm human voice broadcast across all frequencies. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Force. Move to the coordinates we are transmitting now. We will handle the situation here." War Master Crixthul watched the new arrivals with amusement. "Humans," he growled to his subordinates. "I have heard of this species. They are young and primitive. This will be entertaining." He had studied the intelligence reports about humans after their first contact with the Galactic Council. Their ships used chemical rockets and nuclear weapons. Their armor was made of simple metals. They had only been in space for a few decades. By Zarathi standards, they were barely more advanced than the animals they had evolved from. "Ignore the humans," Crixthul ordered his fleet. "Focus on the fleeing civilians. We will deal with these primitives after we have fed." This proved to be the first and last mistake War Master Crixthul would ever make. The human ships moved with a precision that surprised the Zarathi. Instead of engaging in the chaotic free-for-all that characterized most space battles, the humans formed tight formations and coordinated their attacks perfectly. When the first human ship opened fire, Crixthul expected to see the colorful energy beams that most species used for weapons. Instead, streams of metal projectiles shot through space at incredible speeds. The Zarathi had never encountered kinetic weapons before, and their bioarmor was not designed to stop solid metal moving at several miles per second. The projectiles punched through Zarathi ships like needles through paper. Where energy weapons would have been absorbed or deflected, The simple metal bullets tore massive holes in the living vessels. Impossible. Crixthal roared as one of his escort ships exploded. Their weapons are primitive. Sometimes primitive works better, Admiral Chen's voice replied calmly over the communications channel. Nuclear weapons launch pattern Delta. The human ships fired dozens of nuclear missiles, but not at the Zarathi vessels directly. Instead, the missiles exploded in carefully planned positions around the Zarathi fleet, creating a grid of radiation and electromagnetic pulses that disrupted the bioships' nervous systems. The Zarathi ships began moving erratically, like wounded animals. Some crashed into each other. Others spun out of control. A few simply stopped moving altogether as their biological brains were overwhelmed by the nuclear radiation. Boarding parties. You are cleared for assault, Admiral Chen announced. Crixthal watched in horror as small human ships attached themselves to his vessels like parasites. Within minutes, human soldiers were cutting their way through the hulls of his bioships. No species had ever attempted to board a Zarathi vessel. The ships themselves were weapons, filled with acidic blood and controlled by aggressive immune systems that attacked any foreign organism. Boarding a Zarathi ship was considered suicide, but the humans came prepared. The boarding parties wore sealed armor that protected them from the ship's biological defenses. They carried weapons designed specifically to kill Zarathi warriors in close combat. Most disturbing of all, they seemed to know exactly where to go and what to target. How do they know our ship layouts? One of Crixthal's officers asked in panic. They studied us, Crixthal realized with growing dread. They have been preparing for this fight. The humans moved through the Zarathi ships like a plague. They did not just fight the Zarathi. They hunted them methodically through the corridors of their own vessels. The aliens who had spent 3,000 years perfecting terror as a weapon suddenly found themselves experiencing fear for the first time. The screams that had always come from Zarathi, victims were now coming from Zarathi warriors. Human soldiers cornered groups of Zarathi and killed them with a clinical efficiency that was somehow more terrifying than any rage or bloodlust. They used the ship's own biological systems against its crew, turning the vessel's digestive acids into weapons and reprogramming its immune responses to attack Zarathi DNA. We need to retreat, Crixthal's second-in-command pleaded. Retreat? Crixthal was too shocked to think clearly. The concept was foreign to him. Zarathi did not retreat. They were apex predators. They were the ones who made other species run in fear. But as he watched his fleet being systematically destroyed by these primitive humans, Crixthal began to understand a terrible truth. The Zarathi had spent so long hunting prey that they had forgotten what it felt like to be hunted. All ships fall back, he finally ordered, his voice cracking with something that might have been fear. But it was too late. The humans had surrounded the Zarathi fleet and were picking off ships one by one. They fought with a cold precision that made even hardened Zarathi warriors whimper in terror. Admiral Chen's voice came over the communication channel one final time. War Master Crixthal, this is Admiral Chen. You have two choices. Surrender now or we will hunt down every one of your ships. What will it be? Crixthal looked around his command center. Half his fleet was already destroyed. The other half was trapped in human formations with no hope of escape. His own ship was infested with human boarding parties who were methodically killing their way toward the bridge. For the first time in his long life, the mighty War Master Crixthal felt something he had never experienced before. Helplessness. I surrender, he whispered. The battle ended as suddenly as it had begun. The surviving Zarathi ships were boarded, and their crews taken prisoner. The humans worked with the same calm efficiency they had shown during the fight, treating their captives with professional detachment rather than anger or hatred. News of the human victory spread across the galaxy within hours. Every species that had lived in fear of the Zarathi celebrated the impossible victory. Finally, someone had found a way to defeat the monsters. But as the celebrations continued, a few thoughtful observers began to ask uncomfortable questions. The humans had not just defeated the Zarathi, they had done it easily. Too easily. How had they known exactly how to fight creatures they had never encountered before? How had they developed countermeasures for Zarathi biotechnology so quickly? How had they moved through Zarathi ships as if they had been there before? Dr. Quintal, still aboard the Harmony's Edge, reviewed the battle recordings with growing unease. The humans had not fought like desperate defenders protecting innocent civilians. They had fought like experienced predators who had been planning this hunt for a long time. "Captain," she said to Velthar, "I think we need to report something important to the Galactic Council." "What is it?" Captain Velthar asked. "The humans did not just defeat the Zerathi," Dr. Quintal replied slowly. "They enjoyed it." News of the human victory at Centauri spread across the galaxy like wildfire, but the celebrations did not last long. Within weeks, disturbing reports began reaching the Galactic Council from across former Zerathi space. Ambassador Kethvar sat in his office reading the latest intelligence reports, his four hands trembling as he scrolled through the data. What he was seeing defied everything he thought he knew about warfare, about civilization, and about the humans they had invited into their galaxy. "This cannot be correct," he muttered to himself, but the evidence was undeniable. The humans were not just fighting the Zerathi. They were hunting them with a systematic efficiency that made the original Zerathi conquest campaigns look merciful by comparison. Human forces had appeared in 17 different Zerathi-controlled systems, always striking at the most vulnerable targets. They hit breeding colonies where young Zerathi were growing to maturity. They attacked supply depots that fed the Zerathi war machine. They destroyed communication hubs that coordinated Zerathi fleets. Most disturbing of all, they seemed to know exactly where these targets were located. "How do they have this intelligence?" Kethvar asked during an emergency council session. "The Zerathi keep their most sensitive facilities hidden even from us." Council leader Zephyria's crystal form reflected the worried faces around the meeting table. "Our sources suggest the humans have been conducting reconnaissance missions deep into Zerathi space. They have been mapping their territory for months." "Months?" Dr. Quintal spoke up from her place at the observer's table. "They have only known about the Zerathi for 6 months. Are you saying they began planning attacks immediately after first contact?" "It appears that way," Zephyria confirmed grimly. "The humans did not just agree to help us. They began treating the Zerathi as a military target from the moment they learned of their existence." Kethvar called up a holographic display showing recent human operations. The map showed Zerathi space as a web of connected systems with the humans, systematically cutting the connections one by one. "Look at this pattern," he said, pointing to the display. "They are not just attacking random targets. They are following a strategic plan designed to isolate Zerathi forces and prevent them from supporting each other." "Where did they learn Zerathi strategic doctrine?" asked the Kriktar representative. "It took us centuries to understand how they think." "From their prisoners," Dr. Quintal answered quietly. She had been reviewing classified human communications that had been intercepted by Galactic Council intelligence services. The humans have been studying captured Zerathi extensively. They are learning everything about Zerathi biology, psychology, and military tactics. She activated her own display, showing excerpts from human scientific reports. According to these documents, the humans have established research facilities specifically for studying live Zerathi specimens. They are conducting experiments to understand how Zerathi reproduction works, how their biotechnology functions, and how their command structure operates. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The humans were not just fighting the Zerathi. They were dissecting them like laboratory animals. "There is more," Dr. Quintal continued reluctantly. "The humans have begun using Zerathi biotechnology against them. They have learned to reprogram captured Zerathi ships and weapons. In their most recent attack, they used modified Zerathi bioweapons to destroy an entire Zerathi battle fleet." Ambassador Kethvar felt sick. "They are turning the Zerathi into weapons against themselves." "It gets worse," Zephyria announced. "We have received reports that human forces are broadcasting propaganda into Zerathi space. They are using the same subspace frequencies the Zerathi use to transmit screams, but now they are sending messages designed to break Zerathi morale." She played an audio recording that made everyone in the room uncomfortable. It was a human voice speaking in the Zerathi language, which should have been impossible since no human had ever learned their complex biochemical communication system. "Zerathi warriors," the voice said calmly. "Your War Master Crixtal has been captured. He is currently being studied in a human research facility. He screams just like all the others." The recording continued with detailed descriptions of human experimental procedures being performed on captured Zerathi. The clinical, scientific tone made it somehow more horrifying than any threats or boasts would have been. "How did they learn the Zerathi language so quickly?" the Kriktar representative asked. "They did not learn it," Dr. Quintal explained. They extracted the knowledge directly from captured Zarathi brains. According to their research reports, they have developed techniques for downloading memories and skills from living subjects. The silence that followed was deafening. Every species in the galaxy had treaties and conventions governing the treatment of prisoners. What the humans were describing was not just warfare. It was systematic exploitation of sentient beings for scientific advancement. Perhaps, suggested one of the younger council members, we should remind the humans about galactic conventions regarding prisoner treatment. Zephyria made a sound like breaking glass that indicated skepticism. I fear the humans do not consider the Zarathi to be protected under those conventions. To them, the Zarathi are not enemy soldiers. They are specimens to be studied. Kethavar pulled up another report, this one from Human Military Communications. Listen to this, he said, playing an intercepted message between human commanders. Target designation Zulu 7 has been secured, a human voice reported. Specimen collection is proceeding as planned. The breeding facility yielded 37 viable subjects for neurological research and 42 for weapons testing. Acknowledged, replied another voice. Transfer the specimens to Research Station Omega. Dr. Vasquez wants to begin the enhancement experiments immediately. What are enhancement experiments? The Kriktar representative asked nervously. Dr. Quintal looked pale. According to the humans' own documents, they are attempting to create hybrid organisms combining human and Zarathi traits. They want to make themselves stronger by incorporating Zarathi biological advantages. The meeting room erupted in alarmed voices, speaking dozens of different languages. The humans were not just fighting the Zarathi. They were trying to become them. Order! Zephyria called out, her crystal form flashing bright enough to hurt everyone's eyes. We must face the truth about our situation. When the room quieted down, she continued. 6 months ago, we asked the humans to help us defeat a monster. They have agreed to do so. But their methods are disturbing. Their methods are effective, Kethavar admitted reluctantly. Zarathi losses in the past month exceed their total casualties from the previous decade. At the current rate, the humans will completely destroy the Zarathi Empire within a year. And then what? Dr. Quintal asked. What happens when the humans have eliminated the Zarathi threat? Do they simply return to their homeworld and leave us in peace? She brought up a new display showing human military deployments. Human bases are being established throughout former Zarathi territory. They claim these bases are necessary for supporting their military operations, but they are built like permanent installations. The bases were indeed impressive. The humans had constructed massive facilities capable of supporting millions of personnel. They had mining operations extracting resources from conquered Zarathi worlds. They had shipyards building new vessels using captured Zarathi biotechnology. They are not planning to leave, Kethavar realized with growing alarm. They are planning to stay and occupy Zarathi space permanently. More than that, Dr. Quintal said grimly. Local governments in the occupied territories have begun requesting human protection. The humans are offering security services to any species willing to sign defense agreements with them. She showed them the terms of these agreements. In exchange for human protection, local governments gave humans mining rights, territorial concessions, and significant input into local military and political decisions. They are building an empire, the Kriktar representative said in horror. Not through conquest like the Zarathi, but through voluntary submission. Is that necessarily bad? Asked one of the younger council members. The humans are offering protection and stability. After years of Zarathi terror, many species might welcome that. The question, Zephyria said slowly, is whether human protection is better than human occupation. The Zarathi ruled through fear and violence. The humans appear to be ruling through dependence and gratitude. Kethavar stood up from his chair, his decision made. I am calling for an emergency session of the full Galactic Council. Every member species needs to hear this intelligence. What will you recommend? Dr. Quintal asked. Kethavar looked around the room at the worried faces of his colleagues. I will recommend that we consider very carefully what kind of galaxy we want to live in. Because I fear we are about to trade one set of masters for another. At least the humans do not eat their subjects, someone pointed out hopefully. No, Dr. Quintal agreed quietly. They do something arguably worse. They make their subjects grateful for the privilege of serving them. As the meeting ended and representatives began preparing their reports for the full council, none of them noticed the small human reconnaissance drone that had been silently 1 year after first contact with the humans, the last Zarathi stronghold fell. The fortress world of Kethmorn had been the heart of the Zarathi Empire for over 1,000 years, but it took human forces only 3 days to break through defenses that had never been breached. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Terran Dominance, watching the final surrender ceremony through the main viewing screen. The once mighty War Master Crixthul knelt in chains before her, the sole surviving member of the Zarathi High Command. The creature that had once terrorized entire star systems now trembled like a frightened animal. His bioarmor had been stripped away, revealing the pale, soft flesh beneath. Without his technological enhancements, he looked almost pathetic. "Fascinating," Admiral Chen said, walking around the chained Zarathi like a scientist studying a specimen. "Your species ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. You conquered 47 star systems. You made an entire galaxy live in fear." Crixthul's translator device rendered his words in halting English. Why do you not kill me?" Admiral Chen stopped in front of him, her cold blue eyes studying his alien features. "Because dead specimens cannot provide information. You are going to help us understand how your species thinks, how you organized your empire, and what motivated your expansion." "I will tell you nothing," Crixthul said, but his voice lacked conviction. "You will tell us everything," Admiral Chen replied calmly. "We have learned much about Zarathi neurology from our other subjects. We know exactly which nerve clusters control memory, which chemicals influence behavior, and how to extract information without causing permanent damage." She gestured to a human scientist standing nearby. "Dr. Vasquez has become quite expert at Zarathi biology. She has successfully mapped the complete neural structure of 17 different Zarathi specimens." Dr. Elena Vasquez stepped forward, her white lab coat pristine despite having spent months working with alien subjects. "The Zarathi brain is remarkably similar to certain Earth insects," she explained to Admiral Chen. "Once you understand the basic structure, information extraction becomes quite straightforward." Crixthul's eyes widened in terror as he realized what they were describing. "You are monsters," he whispered. "No," Admiral Chen corrected him. "We are humans. There is a difference, though I understand why you might be confused." She walked over to a wall display showing a map of the galaxy. Large sections that had once been marked in red to indicate Zarathi territory were now colored blue for human occupation. "Your species made a critical error," Admiral Chen continued, not bothering to look at her prisoner. "You assumed that fear was the ultimate weapon. You believed that if you could make other species afraid enough, they would never dare to fight back. It worked for 3,000 years, Crixthul said defensively. "Yes, it did," Admiral Chen agreed, "but only because you never encountered real opposition. You were apex predators in a galaxy full of prey animals. But humans?" She finally turned to look at him. "Humans are different." She activated the wall display showing images from Earth's history. The pictures depicted humans hunting massive prehistoric animals, humans building cities in hostile environments, humans fighting wars against seemingly impossible odds. "We evolved on a world where everything was trying to kill us," Admiral Chen explained. "We did not survive by being the biggest or strongest. We survived by being smarter, more adaptable, and more ruthless than anything else on our planet." More images appeared, showing human achievements in space, in science, in warfare. "When we learned about your species, we did not see an unstoppable force of nature. We saw an evolutionary puzzle to be solved." Dr. Vasquez pulled out a datapad and began reading. "Zarathi reproduction requires specific temperature and humidity conditions. Their bioships need regular feeding of organic matter. Their command structure depends on pheromone-based communication that can be disrupted by certain chemical compounds. Every strength you thought you had," Admiral Chen continued, "we turned into a weakness. Every advantage you believed made you superior became a target for us to exploit." She walked back to stand in front of Crixthul. "But your greatest weakness was not biological. It was psychological. You had become so used to being feared that you forgot how to adapt when someone was not afraid of you." Through the viewing screen, they could see human ships landing on the surface of Kethmorn. Human soldiers were establishing control over Zarathi facilities, while human scientists collected specimens and equipment for study. "What will you do with us?" Crixthul asked quietly. "The surviving Zarathi will be relocated to reservation worlds where they can live under human supervision," Admiral Chen replied. "Some will be kept for research purposes. Others will be integrated into human military units as biological weapons specialists. You will enslave us? We will employ you, Admiral Chen corrected. Humans have always been good at finding uses for dangerous creatures. Your species has certain biological advantages that could be useful to us. She showed him recordings of human Zarathi hybrid soldiers, creatures that combined human intelligence with Zarathi physical capabilities. Our scientists have been quite successful at incorporating Zarathi traits into human genetics. The results are impressive. Crixthul stared at the recordings in horror. The hybrid soldiers moved within human speed and strength, but their eyes held the cold intelligence that marked them as human in mind, if not in body. You have made us into weapons for your wars, he said. As you made others into food for your empire, Admiral Chen replied without emotion. The difference is that our subjects survived the process. A communications officer approached Admiral Chen. Ma'am, we are receiving requests for aid from 14 different star systems. Local governments are asking for human protection against various threats. Threats? Admiral Chen asked. Pirates, territorial disputes, resource conflicts, the officer reported. Standard problems that arise when a major power structure collapses. Admiral Chen nodded. Deploy peacekeeping forces to all requesting systems. Standard protection protocols. As the officer left to carry out her orders, Crixthul began to understand what was happening. You are replacing us, he said. We are providing stability, Admiral Chen replied. The Zarathi Empire created a power vacuum when it collapsed. Someone needs to fill that void. And you have chosen yourselves. The galaxy chose us, Admiral Chen corrected. Every species that requests our protection is making a voluntary decision. We do not conquer worlds. We are invited to protect them. She showed him the protection agreements that dozens of species had signed with humanity. The terms were surprisingly generous. Human forces would provide security and technological assistance in exchange for modest resource agreements and cooperation with human scientific research. You rule through gratitude instead of fear, Crixthul observed. Gratitude is more reliable than fear, Admiral Chen agreed. Fearful subjects eventually find the courage to rebel. Grateful subjects become willing partners. Dr. Vasquez finished reviewing her datapad. Admiral, the integration protocols for the captured Zarathi personnel are ready for your approval. Proceed with the program, Admiral Chen authorized. Begin with the command staff. I want their military knowledge preserved and incorporated into our databases. As Dr. Vasquez left to oversee the neural extraction procedures, Admiral Chen turned back to Crixthul. You will be processed tomorrow, she informed him. Your memories and knowledge will become part of humanity's understanding of galactic politics and military strategy. And then? Crixthul asked. Then you will be assigned to a research facility where you will help us prepare for the next phase of human expansion, Admiral Chen replied. The next phase? Admiral Chen smiled, and for the first time her expression showed genuine warmth. It was somehow more terrifying than her previous cold professionalism. The galaxy is a large place, she said. There are many species we have not yet met. Some of them may pose threats to the peace and stability we are establishing. When that happens, we will need to understand how to deal with them effectively. She gestured toward the viewing screen, where human ships were establishing orbital platforms around Kethmorn. The Zarathi taught us valuable lessons about biological warfare and psychological operations. Future opponents will teach us other lessons. You see the entire galaxy as a classroom, Crixthul realized. Everything is a learning experience, Admiral Chen agreed. That is how humans have always approached the universe. We observe, we study, we adapt, and we improve. As guards came to escort Crixthul back to his holding cell, Admiral Chen called out one final comment. Your species ruled through fear for 3,000 years. But fear is a finite resource. Eventually, your victims either overcome their terror or die from it. She turned back to the viewing screen, watching human engineers beginning construction of permanent installations on the Zarathi homeworld. Humans prefer a different approach, she continued. Though Crixthul was already being led away, we rule through hope. We give species something to believe in, something to work toward, something to be grateful for. Alone on her bridge, Admiral Chen reviewed reports from across the galaxy. Former Zarathi territories were being integrated into human protection zones.